Hello and welcome to the Link Podcast. The Link Podcast is created to build community through conversation. We focus on stories of creatives, business owners, community leaders, and all-around interesting people from the community of Lincoln, Nebraska. We welcome you to come learn about your neighbors as we have conversations with them and discover their stories.
Hello.
Welcome to the Link Podcast.
I am Andy Morrison.
I'm Stephen Carlson.
And today we've got on two guys from Artillery Media, or I guess the founder and partner.
Soon-to-be partner.
Soon-to-be partner,
Yeah.
perhaps. We didn't really dive into that.
John Wooten and Jake Kramer. They've created a web design company here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And they do, their office space is in the Prescott area, right above, used to be Home and
previously
Closet.
Home and Closet, yeah.
Yeah. And we get into some interesting rants about why Google is the best designed website.
Which is totally fair. I get where John's coming from.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about John is he gets really passionate about it and he just kind of like step back and he just goes, take a listen.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. This is a podcast sponsored by Carlson Projects.
How do you spell man? M-U-S-T-A-C-H-E.
All right. Welcome to the Link Podcast. I'm Stephen Carlson.
And I'm Andy Morrison.
And today we are here with Artillery Media.
John Wooten.
And
Jake Kramer.
Awesome.
Ta-da.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Thanks for having us.
Tell me a little bit about what Artillery Media is, and then we'll kind of get into origin of how it started and where it all came from.
All right. Artillery Media, basically, we build websites for mostly small to medium-sized businesses, and that's our specialty. And we've been doing that since 2006.
2006. Wow. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, that's when I first
You're old.
bought the... I am.
One of us is.
One of us is.
Yes.
How many years separate us? 13?
Exactly, yeah.
13. He's 13 years older than I am.
That's crazy.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. That mustache is going to turn gray pretty quick.
Amen.
But give me kind of I know it kind of started in music origins, but like how did like you want to start building websites? Because like 2006 was kind of still on the tail end of like the .com boom. Was it like, hey, I'm on the road already? Kind of how did it all happen?
Yeah, tell your story and then I'll kind of add when I jumped in and then where we are.
Hi. So when I was at UNL, I was at UNL from 19...
Did you grow up in Lincoln?
I did.
Okay.
I'm born and raised. I'm born and raised in Lincoln.
Okay.
And then when I graduated high school, it's from a small private Christian college or high school here in town. And I graduated.
The same?
I'm sorry?
Is it the same?
Yeah, we'll
high
get to
school?
that.
Same
Oh,
school.
man. Weird.
And so when I graduated there, that was in 1999. And I wanted to go to the Marine Corps, but I didn't know if I was going to go full-time or reserves. And so I decided to go to a semester of college first, see if I liked it or not. And if I did, then I would do reserve Marines and go do all the training that they do, and then come back and have them help pay for school. That's what happened. But going into college, I didn't even have an email address.
That's wild to think about.
Whoa.
No email address.
What year is this?
1999. So
That's the year I was born. How's that
Yeah. I mean, I'm young at heart, though. I'm young at heart.
Did America even exist then?
So
1776, 1999, man, same thing.
Small difference.
I learned like typing on typewriters, and I remember I could type the alphabet in 3 seconds. But you couldn't go any faster than that because they could only go so fast until they kind of interfere with each other. So yeah, I took typing in school and writing reports on a word processor. you know. Whiteout. I mean, have you ever used whiteout? Anyway, this is not about how old I am and how young he is.
Yes.
We're not doing that.
We turned a weird corner here.
So in college, I decided, well, I don't know if I want to be a marketer or a teacher, so I'll pursue both. While I was in the teacher's program, they make you take this instructional design class. In that class, you build your first Word document and PowerPoint. And they had you build a website. And this is before like there were easy website creators. Mm-hmm. So they made you like learn how to code a little bit and a little bit of graphic stuff. Yep. So that was my first experience with web. And I fell in love with the graphic side. Mm-hmm. All through this time, through high school and stuff, my dad's a small church pastor here in town. And my brothers and I have been the worship team since I was like 12 years old. So I've been involved in music for a long time.
Yeah.
And so in high school and college, I was in these bands, and there's a lot of web designers start out like in a band needs a poster or CD artwork or whatever, or a custom MySpace page.
Yes.
So after taking this little coding and graphic stuff, I was just in this computer lab on campus in the basement of Mabley Hall, which is about to be torn down. I would be there for hours on end. One of the teachers noticed that I was down there all the time, and he was like, "Hey, I'm the webmaster for the college." That's what they used to call like web people, the webmaster, right? Like typical like Dungeon and Dragon webmaster person. And he said, "Hey, you should just do student work down here with me." So he kind of took me under his wing, kind of taught me what all he knew. He actually works for Apple now. He's an Apple distinguished educator, and he travels around to various schools helping them integrate Apple products. Huh. Great guy. Lives in Austin now.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool that a teacher actually noticed that and took the time out. Do you think you'd be doing what you do today or at the level today if he wouldn't have like taken that time to?
No chance. No chance. My other plan was physical therapy. But then I shadowed a physical therapist for 3 days, and I wanted to stretch out like Kobe, right? But no, most of them are not Kobe in the physical therapy patients. And it just wasn't my thing. And so I thought, well, I'll teach marketing at a larger high school. So that's when I first dove in and made a bunch of graphics. And for the band I was in, we needed a website. I made that. The studio we were recording at needed a website, so I did one for them for free.
You didn't change out the we record for this much and I give you a website. You didn't do an exchange. It was like it's free and we'll pay for recording, or how
I just wanted to get better.
Do you know John?
Yeah, that's true.
I just wanted to get better and do something for someone.
Yeah.
And it was something I was interested in, like, oh, here's a studio, like they'll have good, sweet photos, and I'm interested in the subject matter. It'll be easy to do this one, and I'll learn it, do it for free. I did my dad's website for free. The first actual paid website.
He's been doing websites for free ever since.
Yeah.
So hit us up, artillerymedia.com.
And that's why they call it a freelancer.
Yeah.
The first paid one, though, was like a custom home builder. And I remember they paid me $750.
And I bet you lost your mind.
Oh, I did. I bought a Sony Vaio with it.
A what?
It's an old laptop that I swear the back of it was this tall, like shut. Like it was just this beast of a laptop. So that's kind of how I got my start. Word started to get around. Some of my dad's friends would hit me up about a website. Other bands were hitting me up for a website. Eventually, a small record label put me on a retainer to do for $250, you could get album artwork and a custom MySpace page.
Sick.
From moi.
That's a sick gig.
That's how I got in. Oh man, I bet I probably did 70 or 80 custom MySpace pages, and not just like the little bit of customization, like the whole page was customized.
You like scroll through and it like scrolls through the whole picture and all that stuff.
Flash animation back before Flash was allowed online and stuff like that, before it was kind of killed.
You did like all those elements, like that was all you.
Oh, I was heavily into animation, like as far as on the web. There was I'm pretty sure the piece I was working on when the teacher saw me like at the screen for hours, like making my eyes bleed, was I was taking words, fading them in, a frame at a time.
Oh my gosh.
And then adding a glow, a frame at a time. And then I got to reverse it. I can't just have the glow go away. It has to fade out. So then frame at a time. And then he was like,
Is that coding that
there's
you
a
were
better
doing?
way. No, I was actually making like frames and then, visibility of the layer, 95. Next one, 94. Next one. I didn't know any better. Like I said, I didn't have an email address until college. And he's like, there's a better way. Come with me.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Anyway, yeah.
And
That's how I got into
If
it.
you don't know anything about John, he randomly breaks into songs, so don't feel like it's a weird thing. He's kind of like a new girl from
yeah,
Jess.
John has this unique ability. If he hears a lyric, it's
Jess from New Girl, yeah. My bad. Anyways,
talk real quick, John, about why you think MySpace died, just really quickly, because that kind of gets into a few other things I'm sure we'll talk about real quick. But remember how we talked about kind of
Yeah.
the customizations of it?
Absolutely. I remember being in the studio, in this other studio in Texas, actually where Bowling for Soup recorded, is it 1985? That song?
yep.
We were in the same studio doing a record there, and I was telling our manager that I'm working on our website, and he was like, why do you need a website? There's MySpace. And I said, well, maybe MySpace won't be around forever. And like 4 people like laughed at me. It'd be like kind of saying, well, maybe business, maybe you need more than a Facebook page. Like, what if Facebook goes away someday? It'd be like, Facebook ain't going away, right?
Yeah.
MySpace ain't going away. And so, but then what started happening was MySpace opened up the customization of pages to be like, you could do whatever you wanted. And so you had professional designers like me making them look sweet, but then you had amateurs making it so hard to read their page.
Yeah.
And then they didn't moderate their comments. So like half your band comments on your page were other bands saying, check out my CD,
Yep.
come check out my page. And
Yep.
it just became a place of distraction. And that's why I say, hey, businesses, you do need a website versus a Facebook page. If I go to your Facebook, it's even why I don't even really like linking to a Facebook page from your website. Because let's say I'm on your website and I'm interested in your remodeling services. My
Yep.
Carlson Projects website, I'm looking at remodeling. I see a Facebook icon. I click on it. Now I'm on your Facebook page. Okay, I'm checking out your Facebook page. Oh, notification. It's your best friend's birthday. Oh, I better go tell him happy birthday. Now I'm not on your website. I'm not engaged anymore. I am telling my friend happy birthday now instead of hiring you to redo my kitchen.
Why? I
Yeah.
haven't thought about that. You just don't think about it. It just happens. Exactly.
And when's the last time you... Oh, man, this might be rant number 1.
Here it comes.
When is the last time you clicked on a social media icon on a website? Apple doesn't even have them on there. How is anyone going to find Apple's Instagram? How are they going to do it?
How are they going to find Apple? Yeah,
How
on
are they going to
Instagram.
find Apple's
We're never
Facebook
gonna
page? They didn't have a Facebook page. Apple? I don't even know if they
Who
do.
cares?
But they don't have it on there. It's a later on when we talk a little design, I'll tell you why Google is the best design website on the planet. But that'll be later on.
Yep.
So MySpace, I think what killed MySpace partly was the level of customization, and I think Facebook has been smart to not offer as much,
So you got into designing MySpace backgrounds, things like that for bands. Were you still in college at the time, or were you graduated already, or Marines? What was
Sure,
the situation at that point?
So I graduated in 2005. 2004, and then I was sent overseas with the Marines. I did a tour over in Fallujah, Iraq.
Okay.
Came home. Sorry.
I said okay.
Came home from that, and got out of the Marines, or didn't want to re-enlist. They actually extended my contract to send me over. So came home, got out, and then decided I'm gonna try to do music and web design full time. And so that's when I really dove into doing more of a small business websites, church websites, things like that, and less of the $250 special.
Yep.
Band MySpace special. So that's when I really started doing that, and then traveling with the band all throughout that period in the van. And then I think around 2000, a little after that time is when I got involved in Voda with you and be on the bus working
Yep.
on websites.
The bus. That was great.
It was a fun time.
So for those of you who don't know, John and I were both in a band called Voda. And at the time when we both first started, we had a tour bus. And it sounds glamorous. It was pretty glamorous. But we also set up our own sound and our lighting gear. So it was like 2 or 3 times a day we were setting up full sound lighting gear, tearing it down, putting it back up for months on end. But it was great. It was a good time.
Great
but I
time.
remember John at like 2 a.m. we would be like talking and he'd be ranting or something like that would be happening. I'd be like, what are you working on? And he's like, oh, I just got to finish this website. And he would literally be just typing away as fast as he could to work on these websites. And I was like, oh, so that's like how you actually make it on the road, is you actually do something else that allows you to stay on the road. So that's what I was like, I remember is you up till all hours of the night.
And that's
typing on
really why I
things.
got into web design, was the freelance lifestyle. This idea of I could travel and kind of work, set my own hours, things like that. And the longest time, that's all I wanted.
Yeah.
Was just to be a solo freelancer, doing his thing. And but then one day I met Jake, and just I was bogged down in projects, had way too many projects for one person. And the reason why I think musicians make great web designers is because, number one, they're technical, right? Like you deal with cabling and routing a guitar pedal board and an amp, or if you're working in Pro Tools or recording in Logic or whatever, you're dealing with these sophisticated programs. So you have the technical know-how, ability to learn how to build
And you want
websites.
to make something simple too. Like you want to make it easy to use also. Like it's not
You're
like
constantly making it more efficient for yourself.
Yeah, like especially if you're a touring musician, it's like, okay, how do I simplify this thing so that every time I set it up, it's going to work and it's going to be easy. So yeah, I totally understand where you're going with that.
So there's the technical side that you're naturally kind of good at, but then there's this aesthetic side that where the better musicians get that too. Like, hey, if our band colors are red, black, white, and military green, I show up with a blue drum set, like, no, dude, you can't buy that. Like, it doesn't fit the color scheme.
Yeah.
Or, dude, that amp looks sweet. I want to buy it. What does it sound like? Like, well, it probably sounds good, but look at it. It's sweet.
Yeah.
So that combination. So I remember the day, so Jake and I were playing in a country cover band together, and he was playing, he plays a ton of instruments, but for this particular band, he was playing acoustic guitar and fiddle / violin. He was running his violin through a guitar effects processor, putting some reverb on there, a little bit of compression, delay, an octave.
And it was done well. It wasn't done like a multi-effects pedal.
Yeah, don't feel like a little crappy Boss thing or
It was a
something.
Line
No,
6.
just like, no, it was a TC Electronics decent piece of gear, and it was like the right amount of reverb, right delay, right compression, and then a little bit of octave to make it sound like there was a couple instruments. And I was like, and he's in there like tweaking these settings, and he's all dressed great. I'm like, this guy has it. He could do it. So I'll let him kind of take it from there. Had
you up to that point like even thought about websites?
No, not at all. No, I was still a kid. So I'm originally from Southern California. Moved here when I was a kid too. I was homeschooled and kind of grew up.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I know. A lot of creatives, you kind of get to the bottom of it and it's like, oh, you were homeschooled too? Turns out my wife was homeschooled as well. So So was John for a period of time. We have a lot of these kindred spirit elements that we kind of bump into each other as we have continued our relationship. Like when we met each other, we met at this music festival, and the drummer of our band was like, hey, that drummer went to Parkview, which is the little tiny high school that I went to. And I was like, no way. And turns out that he did. And that was the same night I met you, Stefan. And I think we were in a Christian, we had our own Christian high school band, and we did a couple openings for Voda. And that was the time that John said about the violin and effects pedal. And so I joined this country band, and I was, 18 at this point, maybe 17. And just you telling me I can get paid $50 a night to play violin. That's the coolest thing in the world. So I did that for a while and did that through college. We both went to the University of Nebraska and we both majored in marketing. And then when I minored in music, John's like, oh, I did a lot of that too. And anyway, a lot of things that we kind of did simultaneously. But back to your question about did I know that websites was ever on my mind? No, not really. And kind of looking back on it when I was a kid, I mean, I was always tweaking around on the computer trying to like, okay, I remember I remember on an old Windows, like Windows 98, you could remove the Explorer function from the terminal. Well, I don't think it's called terminal. That's what it's called on a I don't even remember what it was called on a Windows. But anyway, you can remove
Windows,
this function.
who cares?
You can like pull this function out of the operating system, and it wouldn't let you do anything on the computer. It would just show the background. You can't do anything. So I didn't want my sisters to mess around on the family computer.
There
So
you go.
I would remove the functions file or the Explorer file and store it on like a zip drive. So that they couldn't use a computer. Like, there's no way to use it without this like Explorer function. Anyway, so I did that when I was a kid, and I was always messing around with stuff. And so when it comes to music, I played violin. You know, my mom made me go to violin lessons since I was 8 years old up until I graduated high school. Another similarity, John played the piano up until then. And when I graduated, or even through high school, I started messing around with effects and everything, as you know, every kid does when it comes to guitars, bass, violin, whatever. And one day when John and I were driving to a gig, he was just venting. He was doing one of his classic John rants about this client. And I was just listening. Again, I'm like an 18-year-old kid, and this huge musician who, you know, plays a lifeline is in the car with me. I'm just like starstruck at this point.
He's the drummer in that one band.
Yeah, in Voda. It used to be Casting Pearls and Newsboys. You heard of him?
Yeah.
So I was just listening. And
nobody has heard of him.
My dad's got your guys' album.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, I could help out with some of that stuff. And the next day, John hit me up and he's like, hey, yeah, I mean, you should try it out. And so we started meeting up at John's dad's church in like the common room.
Our original office.
Hey.
The Artillery Media, more than one, you know, moving from a freelancer to an actual, air quotes, business.
That and the extra room in our apartment.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I'd like come over there and you guys were like face to face basically with your like computers there, and I'm like, man, I don't know how you guys work like this.
Yeah.
And John's like, I'm not here very often.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah, that's true. So that's kind of where it started.
So was it like he took you under his wing, or were you just like,
Oh, for sure.
I'm like too starstruck that I don't care, I'm just going to like work with you no matter what? Or was it like John was like, hey, I see you have like potential, you should try this out with me, let me show you how to do it?
Yeah, I think it was a John's very, I think what gives John the most passion in life is creating entrepreneurs and freelancers out of people. I think that's what like fuels him quite heavily, is kind of, I'll use his words here, kind of escaping the 9 to 5, so to speak. And not necessarily escaping work, because I think that work gives us a lot of purpose, especially if we enjoy what we're doing and there's meaning to it on an internal and a deep internal level. And so it's not so much escaping work, it's just maybe having the idea of freedom, the possibility of freedom, right? So that you're not...
You can take work anywhere.
Yeah, you can take work anywhere. The idea of that, the idea of being able to choose your own work.
Yeah.
I think that's what really fuels John. And it's kind of been instilled in me a lot too, in a lot of ways. But I think that's what it was. John saw this young kid who had a lot of potential, who had a lot of the core abilities to be able to do the things that he was really great at. And he just kept, hey, you should try this. And when I had questions, I'd try it. And so many times. His kind of go-to response for many years was, "Did you Google it first?"
Because he would text you a question, or
sometimes, yeah, or it was just even. I think one of the best skills that you can have is learning how to learn, like learning how to go find the answer.
That's
Yeah.
what I was. Yeah,
And,
that's exactly what I was getting at.
So I mean, obviously we'd meet up in person. I'd help him out. We got him he was taking the online course that I had recommended that I had kind of gone through too. But yeah, and it maybe even to a fault, I just think everyone should just be a freelancer. But you know it's number one. It's not for everyone because there can be lacking in stability and things like that, right? Especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I just saw this kid who wanted to play music, but also wanted to, and we know how well music pays, right? Wanted to play music, but it's like, hey, if you want to play music, well, here's a way that you could do it. You know, when Voda asked me to join, if I wouldn't have been making part-time income with web on the side, I wouldn't have been able to leave my full-time job. I was working downtown for an organization called Arbor Day above Panera Bread there downtown. And that was my full-time job. And if I wouldn't have had, you know, a couple grand a month coming in from part-time web design, I would have to say, hey, I would love to come out and play drums, but I can't. Like, you can't pay me enough to cover my bills.
Yeah.
So when I see another musician like Jake who wanted that same freedom, I mean, yeah, I love helping out those who kind of want to run with you, you know? That's what I like.
And where did the mergence come? Because it's like, it seems like at that point it was like Jake's kind of just like a side thing that's kind of doing his own thing, kind of building his own portfolio. Like, when did it mesh into like, we are Artillery Media now?
Yeah, I think looking back on it, I think that I always kind of just had that intention. John is a creative through and through, and he cares about people, and he'll give you the shirt on his back. But I think where I came in that really allowed us to move to the next level was the process, writing things down and creating a process and being able to duplicate that process. The business side, the analytical side of crunching numbers, which John doesn't like so much.
I'm right there with you.
which I really have a liking to. Yeah. So I think what happened was when I was in school, so this is all when I'm in college. I'm 19, 20, 21, working on these websites at night, hopping on, Code Academy or Team Treehouse, learning the back ends of CSS or JavaScript or HTML or whatever, just trying to learn more because John kept texting me, did you Google it first? Did you Google it first? Did you Google it first? So I kind of like dove into the wealth of knowledge that is the internet, subscribed for all kinds of different things and just started learning. And that was kind of my true education. And college was, I learned a lot of other things through college. A lot of people say that the true benefit of college is intangible. It's not, it's not the books that you read. It's the connections you make. You learn how to learn. You learn how to study. And that's super true. But when I was in college, I was majoring in marketing. I just kind of used Artillery as a guinea pig. And I used them for all our case studies, developing a full marketing plan, developing how to rebrand, a full case analysis over the web design industry, whether it be nationally, regionally, and locally. So I spent probably, several hundred hours really diving into what Artillery is. And I was able to do that from a student's perspective. So it was completely open doors. I mean, I had really great professors that I still have great relationships who were critiquing me. And, have you thought about this? Here's some other things that companies are doing. Hey, you should talk to the VP of marketing for Union Pacific, and he'll give you good examples. So it's really, really a wealth of knowledge that I kind of received from all different angles. And by that time, it was kind of perfect timing too, because by the time I graduated college, we were kind of in this point where I was on a really small retainer through John, and I was kind of taking on some other clients. I remember my senior level marketing, my capstone class, there's a small business is coming in all the time, talking about their problems. And then we take those problems and we develop marketing plans for them, right? what else is college for making students do free work. So I would just approach these business people and I'd say, hey, I build websites. I'm a student. I'll do it for $400. I did that enough times where I kind of got this reputation of, this kid answers his emails.
He's the $400 website guy.
Dang.
Yeah, that's probably true. And looking back on it, I can't believe that a business owner entrusted, someone to build him a site for $400 who's 21 years old out of college. But they did. Thank you for them. I mean, that was awesome and a huge ability to be able to learn. A lot of small businesses, like the Grid Studio, he let me build his website for like $300 or something like that. And it was great. I learned a lot of things, but I think what that taught me was, don't be afraid to approach these business owners and have conversations about money and business.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what allowed me to graduate from college and have the confidence with John's kind of wealth of knowledge as well, to be able to, okay, let's start approaching these other businesses. Let's start trying to grow this thing. Mm-hmm. So right out of college, I was like, I'll build websites, I'll freelance. And my idea was like, okay, I have to make $2,500 a month to live. And I did that and then hit the next mark and then the next mark. And I always branded it as artillery. I never did my own thing. I never was, technically I own Page in a Day LLC, pageinaday.com. But at this point it's, Burger King has the Big Mac, or no, they don't.
Yes.
There it is. Perfect.
It's all good.
Burger King has a Whopper. So Artillery has Page in a Day. It's kind of more of a product. And that's what it is now. So technically people ask John and I about our relationship and how it works within are you partners or are you co-owners? And it kind of takes us about 15 minutes to explain it every time. So technically, John and I own our own businesses, but we brand everything under Artillery. And that's worked really well for us. Something we're kind of discussing as we move into 2020 and beyond is, okay, we should probably come together and so that we can move to the next step, because things are starting to get. And
you didn't really see, as far as when I was hanging out with you a lot, it's like, you're like, I'm just doing this stuff to make sure I'm staying on the road playing music. And I'm also building this thing so it's reoccurring income.
Absolutely.
Did you see this other option that's now happening, creating this web design company? Or was it always your intention of just being John, the web guy?
For the longest time, I never intended to be working with any. So right now there's 3 of us, Jake and his wife, Haley, and then myself, and we have office space at Prescott there, above Home and Closet. And I never imagined that.
And a couple interns.
Interns. I never imagined that. So I just thought it was going to be me. But as Jake is doing these other websites, we're both kind of, doing websites separately. Yeah. But what I don't like doing in the process is what he likes doing. And what he doesn't like doing is what I like doing. Mm-hmm. And so then it was just man, maybe we should come, you handle all, let's work on all the sites together, but I'll just do my strengths, you do your strengths. They complement each other really well.
Yeah.
That's what kind of turned the corner for me on that. I was like, okay, because you hear a lot of horror stories about partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Like Dave Ramsey's famous for saying the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership.
Yeah.
Right.
I always heard the only ship that sinks is a partnership.
Perfect. Well, there you
That's
go.
pretty close.
Now, obviously, there's partnerships that
tattooed on yourself.
I do. I have a big ship and
It's
an
not a
anchor and other
partnership.
things. Yeah.
There's partnerships that work, but right now we're, I kind of call us autonomous partners, where, it's like if Jake goes and does some expense for his business, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not, because they're separate.
Yeah.
And so, and we both have each other's best interest at heart. Now, obviously, there's going to come a certain size to go beyond that. We will have to come together, but it's worked really well. It's worked really well the whole entire time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. I never even knew, because when you first started talking with Jake, you're like, yeah, Jake's doing this with me and whatever. And I'm like, he is? I was always of the thought, I didn't even think Jake would like that. It just didn't seem like your personality to be I'm going to do web stuff.
Yeah.
I always thought of you more of like numbers and that type of stuff guy.
Yeah.
And then when John was like, yeah, he's doing this with me, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then like all of a sudden it was like growing more and more. And I was like, obviously this partnership has something that's very valid.
Yeah, I think there's this really big, I don't know, delusion maybe for students out there that, you know, you have to find what you love and find what you love and major in that. I think that's a bunch of bull. I think that there are elements to every job that you'll like, and there's elements to every job that you'll hate.
Yeah.
I would have never chosen web design straight out the gate. I don't know what I'd be doing if I hadn't have met John.
Yeah.
But it's a great living and it's a great life, and it kind of has afforded me to build a life that I really like and really love. And it's allowed me to work with my wife, and it's allowed me to travel, and it's allowed me to get out of debt. And it's allowed me to do a lot of things that I would never have been able to do. But maybe I would have been able to do that doing something else. So all that to say, like, is web design, yes, I love it. It's my career, and I'm continually improving at it, and I'm continually trying to better myself at it. But it's not something I grew up like, I'm going to be a web designer.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to be a fireman. No, I'm going to be a web designer.
A web designer.
So I think I just kind of, I don't know. I loved working with John. I loved kind of the promise of the lifestyle, and I took to it and learned it and got good at it. But I think the things that really make me and Artillery excel, isn't even really the work itself. Yeah, we build great websites that we're really proud of, and we put a lot of attention into the detail, and we do a lot of research to make sure that they're done right and that they're above board as it pertains to the technical elements and the elements that a layman might notice. But the one thing I think that we really excel at is honesty and communication. I mean, we're really straightforward with our customers on pricing. We're really straightforward with our customers on timelines, and we answer our emails, and that seemed to work really, really well.
Yeah. It's the secret.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can be a lackluster designer.
You can be an amazing designer.
You can be an amazing designer and
not reply, and nobody cares.
Exactly.
You know, but you can be okay, but be responsive and communicate fast with people. It's crazy, especially as creatives. I think a lot of creatives struggle with having a calendar, or like you look at their desktop and it looks like the computer threw up on it. Right? There's all these files. Like they're not. They can be not organized, and they don't want to. They kind of want to get back to you when they want.
Yeah.
Like you email them and like they text you 4 days later, like different medium, and 4 days later.
You're just talking about me now.
Oh no.
There's Andy.
But so where I'm kind of a hybrid. I kind of have a creative. I'm not a full on creative, but I'm not a full on like developer coder person. I'm in the middle. So the joke I like to make, since there's like my dad's pastor, and is there's the developers and designers, and there's me. I'm a diviner. There's the dad joke. I'm not dad, but there's
it's like if a super creative, was a Marine or something.
Yeah. Something like
so
that.
So it's crazy. Like I was thinking today about like, man, why do we do what we do? What obviously, or what keeps us in business? What keeps us? We have 80 some 5-star reviews, no 4, no 3, no 2, no 1 stars. Why? Why is that? And it's not because we're the best designers, because there are incredible designers in town.
Yeah.
I think what it is it's our desire to be excellent. Well, what does that mean? What goes into desire being excellent? A few things. Number one, you do have to know your craft, right? You need to know what you're doing. That way, when you tell a client, here's what I'm going to do for you, that you can back that up. I know it sounds so elementary, but back in the day when I was first getting started, I would subcontract for other freelancers or small agencies, and some of them would overpromise, and it's like, you can't back this product up. Or maybe you see it in remodeling, right? Like, man, this was not done the correct way, and you paid what for this?
Yeah.
So number one, you have to know your craft. You have to be able to back up your product. Number two, you have to we want to serve our clients, and not just in customer service. Yeah, we're quick to get to them or whatever, but I actually care about the site works for them.
Yeah.
Actually does. They're paying, they're paying an investment, right?
Yep.
And there's a weight to that. The weight that comes with that, like, man, this site needs to work for them. Not just look pretty, but also the strategy. Also, when the users land on their page, what is the goal for them? What do they want that user to do? How can we facilitate that, make that action easier, and make the user actually want to do that action through our design? And then ultimately, I mean, you want to get paid, right? You want to make money. You're in business. You want to make money. And then at the end of the day, what I think is more valuable than the money eventually is when they write that review and you read it and you know that, man, they're in. They love us, and the next time they need a site redone, they're not going to have a reason to look around.
Yeah.
They're going to come back and use us. It's like the photographer we use. For our website and our photos. I love her. She's amazing. What I love about her is that she does her research. She looks at our space. She looks at our website, kind of gets an idea of the vibe that we like. And I don't want to tell her my ideas because I feel like my ideas will put her in a box and will limit her. And I know what she's going to do naturally is way better than my ideas.
Mm-hmm. And you should have her on. She just did Baker Mayfield's wedding.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Haley Dolson. She's
Haley
great.
Dolson,
Shout
photography. She's amazing.
But another thing that we say as it pertains to a lot of that is we kind of steal. We're both another thing. We're both big Dave Ramsey fans, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the money part of things in a minute. But one thing that he always says is, find someone who's the heart of a teacher, not the heart of a salesman. Mm-hmm. And you guys did this really, really well, Stefan, Carlson Projects. Even when you guys were working personally on like our own kitchen, is educating people as it pertains to the craft. So you've spent a lot of time learning this stuff. Mm-hmm. And where a lot of people in construction, people in technology, people in whatever, retail, get it a lot wrong is, no, you don't want to do that, but here's why. And let me teach you how to use this tool to better yourself, to better your business, so that you don't have to hit me up. Yeah. I don't want to charge you a retainer because that means that I have to work all the time.
Yeah.
I want to teach you how to make these changes yourself, and then hit me up if you need me, of course. So heart of a teacher, not the heart of a salesman. So as it pertains to building a kitchen, when we walk in and we're, two 23, 24-year-olds and we say, we want marble countertops. And you kind of hold back a laugh and you say, hey guys, I love your enthusiasm. And yes, that's going to look great. But, there's no other houses in your neighborhood that have marble countertops, and you don't want to outprice yourself from the neighborhood. And here's a cheaper option, and we can still do a lot of things. And here's the pros and cons.
So smart.
I try sometimes. Sometimes it happens.
It's things like that we really try to communicate to folks, and we really try to express. It's like, if we don't know, we'll tell you, hey, this is a little bit out of my wheelhouse. Let me bring in someone who does. Here's their pricing. And that's kind of how we like to roll.
What so the whole thing of the podcast is a Link podcast. So what do you think about Lincoln in general, like as a city, as a place, as a community? What do you think Lincoln has done to create Artillery Media, or kind of grow each individuals? I don't care how you go about it, but
where do you think it plays a part in the business?
Absolutely. So, friend of mine actually. So I run an online web design school, and the co-founder in that, she lives in Colorado now, but she grew her web design business in Lincoln. Mm-hmm. And it's always interesting hearing her talking about her when she first moved to Colorado and had to set a presence out there to get clients out there, and how different it was. She lives in Longmont, Colorado, mm-hmm. which is kind of between Boulder and right down the hill from Estes Park. But she's like, John, you don't know how easy it is in Lincoln. She's like, I am having to advertise out here, and like the word of mouth is just a lot harder to get. And I really think that Lincoln is what Lincoln has really helped with artillery. Well, number one, Lincoln is more creative than people think, I think, a lot of times.
Absolutely.
I mean, they think of Husker football, they think of corn, right? But it's like, no, and it's starting to be known as part of that Silicon Prairie, right? That Lincoln, Omaha, KC, St. Louis. And now there are some big tech companies here, right? Obviously. But even 10 years ago, like Lincoln has a great creative scene. In fact, I spent about 8 months living in Franklin, Tennessee this last year, and even which is a suburb of Nashville, and even like looking at Googling web design Nashville, their websites, the designs, the aesthetics were not as good as Lincoln companies.
That's interesting.
So there's just I think there's a weird, like Arch Rival is here, which is a phenomenal agency. They do work with Red Bull, I think Adidas, things like that. So as far as how Lincoln's helped us, it's that Lincoln is a small, it's a big town, but it's like a small, it's a big city, but like a small town knit. Word of mouth just thrives here. Like we've never advertised. We get business. We get so much word of mouth. I really think that's been a big key for Lincoln. It's easy to do business here. Our space for rent is super affordable. It's just for me, it's a great place to do business. Now, most of our clients now are not from Lincoln, but man, getting started and getting going, it was, I consider us super lucky to be here.
Yeah. Lincoln is the 70th biggest city in the country, which is kind of surprising to a lot of people.
I didn't know that. Wow.
I didn't know that either.
And it's kind of got this island culture where, you're from Lincoln.
Because we're in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah. Technically, island water is actually supposed to be corn.
The phrase I dislike a lot is flyover country. I do not like that statement, but it's fun.
That Jason Aldean song, Flyover States.
Fortunately, I don't know that, or I'd sing it.
Yeah, please don't. But the people in Lincoln are real experts at a lot of what they do. And one thing that we've kind of noticed is when it comes to our Lincoln clients, they kind of go above and beyond for hospitality, but they really want to serve people.
Yeah.
And even comparing to some other spots, I mean, even internationally that we've done, Lincoln's just got a very unique buzz and a very unique set of people that genuinely want to, obviously improve their own lives, improve their own business, but they're excited about the growth of their community, the growth of their city. And that's just kind of a really fun thing to be a part of. It's really palpable. I mean, just the expanse of Lincoln as it pertains to all kinds of different industries, entertainment, education. It's a really great place to be. We're really happy to be here.
Yeah, there's a Midwest vibe. I love putting on our website, Made in the Midwest. I just love, you feel good to be able to say that, you know?
Yeah, my brother, he moved down to Nashville several years ago now, and he's been living down there. He's starting a family down there. And, when we're kids growing up here in Lincoln, we dream about moving to Nashville and being a Nashville band.
Yeah.
Because if you say I'm a Nashville band in Lincoln, you'll get gigs.
Yeah.
But down in Nashville, it's very unique because he's starting up his construction business down there, doing, home projects and all kinds of different stuff as he's working on songwriting and being a musician down there. And he was telling me, he's like, most businesses know what Midwest means. And he's like, down in Nashville, if you say, you're from the coast or you're from LA or you're from New York and you need to do like, I don't know, good, honest work, with air quotes, they'll be sketched out. And this is his words. And he said, but if I say I'm from the Midwest, they'll hire me without even thinking. And I thought that was super unique and something to
cool.
really,
That's cool.
Yeah. Don't be ashamed about being from here. It's a great place with great people who really want to serve people. And that's That's rare these days.
They husk corn. They know how to work.
No, man, Lincoln's a special. It's a, yeah. I always try to explain to people. It's kept the small town feel like Stranger Things. You know,
Yeah.
Like kids can still ride their bikes in the streets and sidewalks, and not have to worry about what's going to happen to them. Like, and the other thing is we take for granted is Lincoln's done a great job with the bike trails. All the trails we have here and stuff, living in Franklin, you'd have to drive to find one, and they're not as good. So anyway, but there's just a couple things that I really appreciate about Lincoln. And I feel like a lot of folks here want to use. They are somewhat loyal to using local companies. It seems like.
Yeah.
You could do you could do your website's online, so you could hire someone from anywhere to build your website. But they like us. There's another company some friends of mine own called Agilix. They're developers here in town. And I always tell people when I refer them, I'm like, they're good, honest Midwest boys, and that's like the end of it. That's all I got to say. And they're like, and what does that mean? Well, it means they're going to shoot you straight. They're not going to try to take advantage of you on pricing. They're going to be honest about it. They're going to show you, like you did. Hey, you think you need this big thing? You really should. This is what you really need, and maybe you'll grow into this $50,000 website. But right now, what you need is a $10,000 one, and this is what'll work for you. You know what I'm saying?
Not just selling to just sell.
Yeah, not just selling to be like, I'm gonna. What big number can I sell for now?
Yeah, how easy would it have been to just say, yeah, guys, let's do marble countertops, and you can go down to the bank and get a credit line.
Yeah.
And let's do it.
Yep.
And we would have been pumped, and we would have done it.
Dang it, I should have done it. Just kidding. Yeah, no, that's great. What do you think? I've been liking asking these questions. Like, what spots in town do you find yourself consistently frequenting? Like either to get a coffee, to get dinner. Like, what are those spots where you're just like, this is local Lincoln. Like, I'm never gonna find this anywhere else, and I find like myself craving this.
Have you heard of Prescott Avenue? Come say hi. We're down there.
Yes,
the
Prescott
mill,
shops.
Goldenrod.
We've had 2 people from Prescott now.
Yep.
We're working on more too. So
Prescott's good. We really like, obviously, the Haymarket downtown. We always frequent the dog parks. I do. John's allergic to dogs. A big contention in our relationship.
Probably the worst thing.
My roommate's allergic to dogs.
But you have your dog's a doodle though.
Hypoallergenic. Yeah.
It
Shout out to
happens.
Cooper. He
You
sneaks into
saw.
every conversation I have.
So-
Yeah, but
Cooper has his own Artillery Media email address.
email Cooper
That's
at artillerymedia.com for a
Cooper with
little
a
Easter
K.
egg with a K. John, what are some of your favorite spots?
Coltiva breakfast, right? Mm-hmm. Bomb. I don't even drink coffee.
Which
Location?
no, which
like
what
the
are they
lineman.
called?
The lineman.
Yeah, what crepe you like the best?
Well, I always do the Johnny cakes. So Johnny cakes with some maple syrup and eggs.
Do you ever
and
get the
ham.
salt whip? Have you heard the salt whip?
What is that? No, I
that's so
haven't.
good.
It's like,
I haven't had it.
I don't
get
know
the
how to
salt whip.
describe it.
Salt whip.
It's like a savory whip.
Nay, nay.
It's like Cool Whip but salty.
Yeah.
Like,
I see.
It's real good.
You have to ask for it.
Yes,
So I thought wait, you can have it?
I have tried it.
The
I
other
can't have a lot
insane
of it. It has a
thing.
lot of salt.
So the band still travels a lot to San Diego. We go there at least once or twice per year, and then I'm going to Florida here for the band, and we've been there a couple times, and then Charleston. So some places on the coast and other big cities, and Blue Sushi. I know it's a chain now, chain-ish, but we're just fortunate to have one here.
Yeah.
Like it's I don't know if you're a sushi lover or not, but if you're a sushi lover, Blue is like, I tell people it makes no sense. We're landlocked.
Yeah.
But our sushi is incredible. Blue Sushi is incredible. Even in San Diego, I went to like a spot where the locals were like, "This is the best place," and it's like, yeah, it's all right. It's when I tell people, "Hey, you got to rate something out of 10," I say you can't use 7. Because it makes you decide.
Yep.
Because if I'm like, well, it's a 7 out of 10. Well, you can't use 7. Oh, man. Well, 8 out of 10 makes it sound like it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? 6 out of 10 is like, meh.
It's okay.
7 out of 10 is a great, easy answer. Oh, it's a 7 out of 10. Well,
so what's the San Diego one?
You can't use it. I'd have to say 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Blue's like 10 out of 10. There's a place in KC called Drunken Fish. It's about 9 out of 10, I'd say. But for some reason, for me, there we go, I did it. For me, that is like one of our hidden secrets is the Blue Sushi. They used to have this roll called the Knuckle and Claw. Then they stopped selling lobster. My buddy Christian and I filled out their contact form for like 3 weeks straight, asking for it to come back. Never did. So now they have one called Thriller. They have that roll now. So if you go to Blue Sushi, try the Thriller roll as well as the Lion King.
Yes.
All right.
Boom. Any
Yes,
other
sir.
spots?
Those two are kind of my main two that I really like. I'm like, man, I'm so glad these two places are Lincoln, especially the Coltiva one. It's local. It's like, yeah. This is right vibe. Especially, I favor the East Campus one. Just got the record player. It's just got the cool
Yeah.
modern vibe that I like.
Absolutely.
Heart wants what it wants, you know?
It does. We have a question that we ask all of our guests, and that is one time that you've laughed the hardest. And it can be like you guys were doing business together and it made you laugh, or just something like you can point to like in your life where you're like, I've literally never laughed this hard.
Oh man.
And you can think about it for a bit while,
Okay,
while Andy talks.
That's a good question.
Oh, man.
Andy talks.
I've got one.
You got one already? Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
That's good.
So this one time, we're John and I are in this old country cover band. We got a lot of stories. I'll tell the safe one.
I think you can tell any of them.
And
Maybe.
I'll be a good boy. And we're playing. I think it's like this New Year's Eve show, and we're playing, I think, in Kearney or something like that. And it was just one of those nights that just things are starting to unravel. People are getting a little rowdy, and we're playing, and the night ends, and it's about 2:00 in the morning, and there's these two groups that kind of come up to us, and they have completely different vibes going on. Mm-hmm. This one guy goes over to me, and he's just completely just blasted, blackout, out of his mind. And he's like stumbling, and he's like looking at me, but he's kind of looking over here, so I can't tell if he's looking at me. He's like, I'll give you $200 to play Charlie Daniels. And I kind of look back at John, and it's like 2:00 in the morning, and and I'm like, show me the money. This is so bad. I just took advantage of this guy, and he like drops the money in my violin case, and so I play like a couple lines, and then his friends come like, oh, where'd you go? You gotta get out of here. So they pull him out of there.
Yes.
John and I were laughing at that one for a while, but then that other group is approaching like the singer of our of the band, and I think he just wanted to fight him. Remember Chris and Johnny, and they went out back, and the guy like tries to pick up this drum case, and he's like swinging it at the guy, and they're throwing things, and they almost get in a fight outside. And that's a really memorable time of very high and very low.
Yes.
Of what can happen 2:00 in the morning playing at a bar. So that kind of jumped.
You go from some random dude paying you $200.
Yeah, I'm like all smiles in the corner
to another guy swinging drum cases at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Was your drum kit in the cases? That he was
He wasn't the drummer in this band.
I wasn't
okay.
the drummer in that band.
He's
That
playing
was
guitar.
So you were
Brian's
like, it's not a big
guitar
deal.
and keys. All I remember is the guitar player was out talking to the guy in the parking lot, and behind his back, he was holding his amp stand all folded up, like this metal,
Like just in case.
Like, I'm like, what are you gonna do? You're really gonna swing at this guy and hit him with y'all? What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
What are y'all doing? Yeah, that was weird. I want to know the inappropriate one now. Can we go there or not?
Sure.
Can we go there?
I don't care.
Your turn. You gotta tell one.
Well, the only funny thing I could think of right now, and it's going to make me sound so insensitive and mean, but I was on the plane next to my wife, and I have my headphones in listening to Bill Burr's latest Paper Tiger
I haven't heard it.
Netflix special,
Yeah.
and he's talking about sex robots. Anyway, after he gets done explaining how the female sex robot will make females feel like, how can I ever be, I can't compete with this. He's like, but there's going to be male sex robots. He's like, he's going to be, wife's going to come home. He's going to be cooking dinner in an apron, no shirt on, 8-pack. He's like, it'll hold both your hands while you tell the story. And I just lost it. At that part, holding both your hands, imagining Sylvester Stallone, the sex robot, holding my wife's hands while she tells him about her day. How was your day? Just like this endless gaze. And I'm on the plane, just like laughing. I'm crying. And my wife's like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, no, I'm not gonna share. No. Anyway,
forget the end of websites. I mean, it's going to be the end of husbands.
So yeah, Bill Burr, Paper Tiger. It gets a little, whatever. It's comedy. But it's pretty funny at some spots. And I was just dying on this plane, just like uncontrollable.
Were people like, what?
I think the person, I was in the middle seat because I gave my wife the aisle because I'm a loving husband. And she's never going to listen to this, unfortunately. That would have got me like a coin deposited in the love bank. But I think the guy next to me was kind of like, because I was just like,
you're just done.
I'm just crying. I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Is there anything more thrilling than having to hold back like intense laughter in a public place? Like,
I just let it go.
Yeah,
you just gotta let it go.
There's another time I laughed so hard I got off beat. It was Brian and I were doing a gig out in Wahoo, and we have this song where usually it's supposed to go, I'll tell the world who you are. But usually he puts the city name there. So I'll tell Omaha who you are. Well, he goes, I'll tell Wahoo who you are. He looked over at me because it was like Wahoo and then followed by a who. And for some reason, I lost it.
It just died.
I'm just like, I just thinking about Wahoo who you are. And it sounds so dumb now, but I just lost it. I must have been fatigued from setting up the gear or something. Yes. I was just like done for. Yeah.
I would have said like it probably would have been at the end of like a 24-hour drive or something that would happen, but Wahoo's not that far away, so I don't have any excuse for you.
No, none. So what's the inappropriate one?
Oh man, pass.
Okay, fine.
Let's talk about websites.
Well, afterward. Should I rant on Google now? How I think Google's the best?
Right. So let's talk. How much time we have left?
How much time?
I don't know, Kai. What are we at?
All right, so let's talk real quick about like some of the strategy behind websites real quick. So when we talked about MySpace pages originally, I asked about why you think they were dying, and it was because of like customizations. And I think the main word you used was distractions there.
Distraction. And
one thing that we really go for as it pertains to web design, as it pertains to communication as a whole, is we follow this kind of operating system for building websites called StoryBrand. And it's a book. It's also a course. It's kind of a way of clarifying your message is the whole idea. And his whole thing is the clearest communicator will win. People don't buy the best products and services. They buy the ones that are communicated the clearest and the fastest. So John has this whole shtick about Apple and their website, and Microsoft comes along and their website, and he has one website that he thinks is the best designed website in the entire world. So
that's good setup.
Take it away.
It's kind of like when the iPod came out and then the Zune came out afterward, and it was like, what is this?
It's just like, this thing is the worst ever.
Imitation thing. So for the longest time, I would say, man, Apple is like the best designed website ever. Like they got a few items at the top, just so clean, gorgeous photos, right? Like I always rant on when the iPad came out, and on the home screen it was probably something 2-word slogan like touch, feel, or something or whatever, and it was just a photo of like the big iPad and there's a finger on there, right? And that was like it. And learn more button, and I'm sure the engineers are like, photo's way too big. Why can't we put all the specs down like right there? Like that's what people really want to know. It's like, no, because it's clearest communication. It's like, oh, I want that. So for the longest time, I'd be like, I think that's probably the best design site on the planet. But then lately I was on Google's homepage one day, And I was just like, this thing is so clean. There's only
Just a
one
search
thing
bar
I
and
can
just
do
the-
here. And so I actually just did a video. It's on our blog, where I actually mock up what Google's page could look like. And so I'm like, well, first of all, we need a bar at the top and got to put their logo up over there. And we got to have a phone number up there, right? Because got to be able to reach them. And social media icons. So I put like 8 of them, right? Like even like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then like LinkedIn. And then like, well, you got to have a Yelp one up there. And we got to have whatever else. There's like 3 more I put up there. I think Pinterest, right?
Yep.
And a couple others. So that's up there. And then you got the search bar and and then I put like little advertisements on there, like Google Conf 2020 and Googlefy, buy now, Google Phone, learn how to search faster, tips here. So I put those on there. Like the search bar is still there. You can still search, but there's these other things now that you could do. To how helpful, right? How helpful of them. And then to round out the video, I'm like, imagine if this happened. You go to google.com and I put a pop-up that comes up right away. And it says, and it's one of those demeaning pop-ups, like the one I saw was, it was like when the whole Marie Kondo thing was, condo your life, declutter your life. I saw a pop-up that was like, would you like to learn how to live a simpler, cleaner life? And it was like, enter your email. And the only way to get, there was no X. The only way to get to go away was you had to click this link that said, no thanks, I like living in a pigsty. And that's what you had to click to make the thing go away.
So aggressive.
So I did a pop-up that said, learn top secrets in searching Google faster. And then it was like, no thanks, I like being slow, or I like being dumb, or something like that. That's it.
Yep.
And my point was, look, Google knows there's only one thing you're trying to do here. You're not coming to their website to go visit their social media. You're not coming to their website to go check out their Google conference or buy their Google Fi or phone or whatever you're going to do. You're here to search. Mm-hmm. That's what you're here to do. And they're going to make that as easy as possible. How? How are they going to make that easy as possible? They're going to take away all other options. Pretty much. I mean, there's an about link up there somewhere. There's a little something, but it's white search. And so it serves a couple purposes. Number one, the user's able to do what they came there to do fast. Number two, how does Google make money? Well, they make money by serving you ads after you search. So they want you to search too.
Yep.
And so that's why I say Google is probably the cleanest and possibly most well designed. When you think about design from a design solves problem strategy point of view, not is it the best looking website? No.
Yes.
But it might be the best design. Designing is not just how it looks like, it's how it works, right? How it feels, how it works, how it solves problems. So anyway.
Yeah, we always talk about how design solves problems, and we're all designers in a way. We're all marketers in a way. If you take a girl out on a date, you're marketing yourself. And if you talk about yourself the whole time, well, guess what she's going to tell her friends? He was the boringest person ever. He just talked about himself the whole time. And that's how websites work, and that's how businesses work. Consumers are constantly becoming more and more self-aware and self-directed. 1960, someone serves you up an ad for chocolate milk. Well, guess we're buying that chocolate milk. But nowadays, I mean, in our information age, we have the ability to cross-reference several things and find the best deals and find the best products. So marketing is kind of taking this whole switch from do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, to just being as clear and precise as possible. And back to StoryBrand, their whole thing is, if you're on that date and you're just talking about yourself the whole time, you're going to be a bore. Mm-hmm. But if you're the one asking the questions, if you're the one serving the need, then they're the hero of the story. Mm-hmm. And you're the guide. They're Luke Skywalker and you're Obi-Wan Kenobi. And what does Obi-Wan Kenobi have that Luke doesn't? Well, he has the plan. He has the wisdom. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a business and my customer comes to me, they don't care about my About Us history page. They don't care that my grandfather in 1952 started blah, 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 blah. Maybe they do on a personal level, but on a business level, they don't care. They want to know how this business can make me more money. And is this going to serve my need? So if we can tee up those needs, if we can tee up those villains, if we can show Luke, hey, your villain is Darth Vader, and here's how we're going to conquer him together. that's when people really listen. And that's really how we approach a lot of the strategic design. So design, like John said, it's not just about looking pretty. It's about solving specific goals and being as clear as we possibly can with navigation and communication and usability.
And that's how we serve. We serve by being the guide. Saying we want to serve our customers doesn't mean, yeah, just tell us what you want, we'll do it. Right? In that case, you would have gave them the marble countertop.
Yeah.
But you push back saying, well, this might not be a good idea. We do the same thing. Like, okay, we hear you. And man, here's on this one particular thing, we're going to push back a little bit because from our experience, and I think a lot of clients want that. They just don't want you to do what they want.
Yeah.
They hire you for your expertise to be a guide. So serving clients doesn't always mean I'm just going to do what you tell me because I want to make you happy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I'll honestly think about it too, like as like a musician, like especially with what both of you also play, is like I think of like bass and I think drums. I'm like, you play to serve the song. Like, yeah, you could rip a sweet bass solo or a drum solo. Who cares?
Yeah.
The audience isn't going to be like, whoa, that's amazing. And then it's like, okay, cool, that drummer's really fast. But if the song is solid and you're hitting like the notes properly, everybody's going to be like, dang, that song was really good. Not like, that drummer was pretty good, but do you remember what the song was like?
Yeah.
So
Coldplay's drum beats are like the simplest in the world. And their bass lines are just so, I mean, any rookie bass player could play most of the Coldplay tracks. And that's kind of been the trend, especially moving on and on and on forward down the musical line. I mean, even the most popular songs, all the Drake songs, even a lot of the more popular Kanye songs, like simplicity and very clear communication. Even if you have to repeat the chorus 400 times as the hook, like that's what works.
Yep.
And even though you have to repeat calls to action or certain things on a website, that's usually what works. Having certain things designed different ways or having different ways of communicating the same message, leading people to a certain spot, getting them to do what you want them to do on the website is kind of the main goal.
Yeah.
And the thing that we are really looking out for as well.
You got any questions?
I think I'm good. Is there anything you guys want to plug?
Besides Artillery Media?
Yeah.
Well,
Even where to reach you.
Yeah, a few things that we have going on. So artillerymedia.com, we build websites, as you may have figured out. John's course, breakintoweb.com. That's the course he referenced earlier that talks about how to become a web designer. And it goes beyond just, how to use a page builder, but actually learning the craft. Another John rant that he'll kind of go on. And then we have a couple other things, but let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
For now, artillerymedia.com, and check out breakintoweb.com. And yeah, thanks for having us on.
Well, cool. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.